Hey guys, in the previous tutorial I showed you how you can insert data into your spreadsheet and maintain functionality. In this tutorial I'm going to show you how you can recognize patterns within the spreadsheet by using the functions that are already inbuilt in it. And that might sound complicated, but once we put it into practice you'll see how easy it can be. And I'm going to get rid of all this data that we already have here. So I'm just going to left click on the chart, backspace or delete. I'm going to highlight all this data, just left click and drag, delete all the data. I'm going to start fresh in cell C2. Now if I put the numbers 1, 2, 3 in these particular cells here, what would come next? We know that the answer, because there's a pattern here, would be 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next would be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oops, that's not, that should be 10. Okay, so then we've had this identifiable pattern. All we're doing is adding 1 to the cell that's above it. And let's say in this column here we have, say, 2, 4, 6. Can you see the pattern? What would be next? 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. So you can see we have some particular pattern there, right? Well, what we can do in Google Sheets is we can use the spreadsheeting software to automatically detect if there's a pattern in a particular formula. So what we can do is we can say, let's say I'm going to get rid of this stuff here. I'm going to get rid of that up until there. Scroll up a bit. And you can see that we have 1, 2, 3. And what did we say was the next number before? We said it was 4. So how do we get the spreadsheeting software to do that? It's actually quite simple. All we do, if we know that there's a pattern in the data or in the formulas that are in the data, we can simply click, and I'm going to left click it and highlight. I left click, hold my click and highlight the data like that. And you can see I've highlighted the data that I think there's a pattern in. And what we do is we come down to the bottom right hand corner here and you can see how the mouse changes from a pointer to a little, looks like an addition symbol. There's a little cross there. What we do is we left click and hold on that there. And then we pull it down while we're still holding the click. And if I pull it down to say here, what would we expect the cells to show? What would we expect those cells, which are now dotted with an outline, to show? Should they show the pattern that was in those first 3 cells? As in the continuation of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? I'm going to release the click and you'll be able to see what happens. You'll see the program has automatically recognized that there was a pattern within these first 3 and then it applied it to these. So let's grab it again. Let's grab all of this data from 1 through to 7 and see if we can apply it to these last 3 cells. So click, hold, highlight it. And now we come down at the bottom right hand corner where we get this arrow, left click and hold, and then we drag it down. Now the data, because there's a pattern there, it should show 8, 9 and 10, shouldn't it? And there we have it. What about in this row over here? Let's get rid of this data. Let's start with just 2 and 4. So I've just highlighted that and then backspaced. Let's start with numbers 2 and 4 in cells D2 and D3. Let's highlight that. Left click, drag down. So we only have 2 points which we can recognize the formula. Now that could be, 2 times 2 equals 4, or it could be simply just 2 plus 2 equals 4, plus 2 equals 6, plus 2 equals 8, right? Let's click on the bottom right hand corner, left click and hold and drag it down 1 cell and see what it comes up with. I think it's going to come up with 6. You see that? 6. So it recognized the pattern. It recognized that 2 to go to 4 is just 2 more. And then it's gone, okay, I can see what you want here, Owen. In that cell, you want another 2, which is 6. So let's highlight all that stuff there again. We can just left click and drag down. Go to the bottom right hand corner and drag it down. And you'll see that the spreadsheet has uncovered the pattern the whole way down. As far as we wanted to drag it, we could keep going if we wanted to. We could go down to here and see what it comes up with. or we could go back up. And we can do that by, oh no, we can't, not with this one. That's all right, we'll just simply highlight that and get rid of it. In this cell, which is cell E2, I want to show you something different. So in this cell, I'm going to say this cell equals the value of these two numbers multiplied together. So the answer should be 2 because we know that 1 times 2 equals 2. So let's go here. Equals this cell, which is C2, and you can see I just clicked it. And we're going to multiply that using the keyboard times this cell. 2. Now what would happen if we did the same formula in this cell? Let's say we did this cell equals that one multiplied by that one. 8. And that would be right, wouldn't it? 1 times 2 equals 2. 2 times 4 equals 8. But what happens if we wanted to apply that? Could we click and drag that function down the page too? We absolutely can. So let's go back. Let's start here. Let's say this cell, I'm just using the keyboard here, is equal to C2 times D2. The answer should be 2 once I press enter, and it is. Now, there's a relationship in this cell. There's a formula, isn't there? The formula is, and you can see it up in the window up here, it equals C2 times D2, and whatever numbers we put in there, it will automatically calculate in this cell. Let's see what happens when we drag it down. Before I release my left click, I want you to have a guess at what would be in the next cell and what would be in the cell after that. So in cell E3, we would expect 2 times 4 equals 8. And in cell E4, we'd expect 3 times 6 equals 18. I'm going to release my click and see what happens. Look at that. It's automatically calculated everything that was in these cells multiplied together in this cell, in this column, sorry. And we can look at the formula by left clicking on the cell, and then you look up the top here and you can see the formula is C11 times D11, which is C11 times D11. Another way we can look at the formula is just double clicking on the cell. So just like that. And you can see that the formula is C11, which is in this case holds the value 10, times D11, which holds the value 20. So the answer would be 200. Here you are, it's right there. And we can use this pattern recognition in spreadsheets to apply to many, many, many cells at once. So let's say we selected all of the data like this, and we dragged it down one spot, just down to this row here. What would happen? Presumably this column here would mean that that goes to 11. Remember, in this column here, we're adding 2 to it, so that should go to 22. And this column here would be 11, which would be the next number after 10, times 22, which would be the next number after 20. Let's try it and see what happens. See, I'm just clicking and dragging down. And there you have it. 11, 22, that continues that pattern, that continues that pattern, and this continues that pattern. And we could drag that all the way down as far as we wanted to. And you can see how we can use the spreadsheeting software to do all the calculations for us just by clicking and dragging down the page. And we can apply this many ways. It doesn't have to be down the page. We could go across ways if we wanted to. Now that's where it would get a bit more interesting. Let's say we went across to the right. You can see in this value here, and I've just double clicked on the cell, you can see that the formula has copied across from the E column to the F column. It's saying 2 times 2. And then if we drag that down, you can see it's gone to 32. It's saying the values in D3 times the values in E3. And it's calculated. And we could drag that across again if we wanted to. And you can see it's gone to 8 because the formula is still saying whatever's to my left, multiply together. And then in this cell, this answer is whatever's to my left, multiply together. So the formulas continue on forever. And we could highlight all this data here. Remember, in the functions or the formulas that are within them, we could highlight this data and drag it down again. And you can see it's still doing the same thing. In this cell, for example, we're multiplying 288 times 6,912. And we can see that if we go up the top here to the formula bar, or if we just double click on the cell. And you can see E13 times F13 rather. And there you have it. Just press enter, and there's the formula. So that's how you can use spreadsheets to recognize patterns in data, and also how you can apply formulas to multiple lines at a time. Remember, you just highlight the data that you want to copy, and you go down to the bottom right hand corner and you drag it across, you drag it down, you drag it to the left, you drag it whatever direction you want, and it will copy the formulas across. Sounds pretty nifty, huh? In future tutorials, we'll make extensive use of that little feature, and you'll see how it really comes into play when we have large data sets.